I probably shouldn't even be awake right now. Okay, I've got bills to pay. I mean, the fact that I even have electricity right now is amazing. It really is. Um, I work as a laborer right now. That's how I make fiat reserve currency notes. And I should be sleeping because to make sure you get work, you have to show up early in the morning. So I have to get up about 4 o'clock in the morning to make sure that I can get some work. But I'm not. I'm awake, so I'm doing this video. All right, and I figure I need to get comfortable in front of the camera anyway, so I might as well tell you a little bit about my background. I'm going to try to actually summarize my whole background, but I'm going to try to do it quickly, so bear with me. Right. I'm going to try to cut out as much of the details as possible, but still give you a good idea kind of what my upbringing and background was. I was raised by my mother, for the most part. When I was 14, I lived with my father for a while. But I mostly lived with my mother. I went to 3 different elementary schools, one in the east side of Salt Lake, which the east side of the whole Wasatch Front is where all the good schools are. Most of the schools on the east benches are excellent, and most of the ones that aren't are complete shit. Okay, it really is that big of a difference. And of course it has to do with the way schools are funded by property taxes. The other 2 elementary schools I went to were in rural Utah. My mother actually built a modified A-frame, and we lived there for a while. We had a wooden coal-burning stove for heat, oil lamps and candles for lighting, no running water, hand pump well. I hated it. I hated it. I wanted my television. You know, I couldn't wait to go visit my grandparents in Salt Lake so I could watch my Battlestar Galactica and my Star Trek. Okay, which is, you know, I haven't changed much in that regard. I don't watch nearly as much TV, but that's still the kind of stuff that I do watch when I get into it. I went to 2 different middle schools, both in rural Idaho, rural Utah, and and I went to a middle school in Logan, Utah, when my mother went to Utah State University. What do I want to say about that? It seemed like there was something important. Oh, rural schools, right? So the rural schools are good too. Okay, it's this generally, and I guess this is just generally true. True that in the rich areas in the cities and in the rural areas is where you get the best schools. Okay, the poor, the middle class areas have all the shit schools because that's just the way the funding works out. Right, and then I also went to another junior high. I've had a lot of excellent teachers. One of my favorite teachers, not my favorite teacher, but definitely among the very top was Clayton Bruff, and I'm mentioning his name because he's a celebrity. So you might have actually heard of him. You can certainly look him up. I don't think any of my other teachers are celebrities, but I'm not sure. I've never really been much of a celebrity worshiper anyway. Right, so at a pretty young age, even, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I think it was middle school actually. I started really reading, and that became my escape in a lot of ways. I even started reading L. Ron Hubbard's novels, the Mission Earth series at that time. Mostly the books that I would read were science fiction, and some obscure writers that were very good, but mostly the greats of science fiction, including Isaac Asimov, you know, Poul Anderson, Larry Niven, Arthur C. Clarke, lots of Robert Heinlein, just to name a few. I recommend The Hitchhiker's Guide to Galaxy by Douglas Adams to everyone. I think it's fantastic, and it's a gift that keeps giving. I read that, the whole series, multiple times, and now that I'm older and I have a lot more knowledge of, you know, the occult, we'll call it the occult, and, you know, psychology and history and philosophy and stuff like that. It's looking back on it, it's even more interesting than it was back then. And then I read some nonfiction. Um, as I got older, I read books on mysticism, ritual magic, all kinds of things. Isaac Asimov's textbook on neutrinos, but mostly science fiction novels, a few fantasy novels. Tad Williams is an excellent author that I don't hear people talk about much, but he is very wordy, gets very detailed. His books are extremely long, extremely long. He's a record breaker. He has a series. I don't recall what it's called, but it's a very long series. I want to say it's a decology or something like that. But it takes place in mostly in cyberspace, in a future cyberspace where there's complete immersion. Which and just saying that doesn't do it justice. It's very interesting. There's certain people. I don't want to spoil anything, but there are certain people that like to dress up as Egyptian gods in the book. Okay, which is pretty interesting, especially if you study the occult and history. Um, and they're stealing. How can I put this? Well, let's just put it this way: there's children that are ending up in catatonic states, and I don't know. I don't want to spoil it, but it's wild. Right, yeah, the L. Ron Hubbard novels, I might as well back up a little bit. Reading the L. Ron Hubbard novels, particularly the Mission Earth series, did end up leading me to the Church of Scientology later on. So I was with the Church of Scientology for a few months, so I have some insight on that as well. And I went to two high schools. Skyline High School, which was one of the best high schools in the nation at the time. It was in the top 100 high schools, both public and private, and had a very innovative multimedia program. I took multiple honors classes as well in physics and English and world history. After that, I joined the U.S. Army National Guard and went to basic training, did all that. I failed Russian at DLI, and then my backup MOS, which was 92 Alpha, wasn't used in the National Guard unit anymore because of the way they changed the structure of the unit. So I ended up getting screwed out of promotions. Like I actually ended up, I gotta stop looking at the monitor. I actually ended up a private first class for like years. It was ridiculous. But I got my girlfriend pregnant and then ended up joining my girlfriend at the time, and I ended up marrying her and being released from. Oh, I forgot. Yeah, I actually graduated high school from in Idaho. Like in the middle of my senior year, I transferred, so I have some insight on Idaho as well. But right, so once I got released from the Guard, and I was in Idaho at the time, to go regular Army, I ended up picking up another MOS, which was Bradley Systems Mechanic, which is a unit level mechanic position. It's you have to be the most competent of any mechanic to be in that position. There's several other different types of mechanics at various different levels of maintenance, but that's one that requires the most creativity, the most problem solving, the most innovation. And I did get an honorable discharge, but I was ineligible to re-enlist because I lost rank. For stuff, I'm not even going to get into that right now, but it's really fortunate because knowing me, I would have re-enlisted had I been eligible, and I would have been going to Iraq and Afghanistan. I'm glad I didn't. Wanted to do my duty to my country and my people, right? Oh, yeah, I mentioned failing Russian because I did go to the Defense Language Institute of the Presidio Monterey, so I was initially going to be an interrogator linguist in the military intelligence. I was in a military intelligence guard unit at that time. But like I say, I failed and that didn't work out. It was regular Army for like 4 years. I was stationed in Baumwalder, Germany. I did get deployed to Kosovo too, so I have insight on that and a better understanding of how fucked up things can get, let's put it that way. And how compartmentalized. When you're even in the Army, you don't know what the hell's going on. Nobody tells you, or if they do tell you, they tell you bullshit propaganda. and you just believe it because you have nothing else to go off of. The whole conflict in Kosovo and how that came about is really not well known. I came across a YouTube video on it a while back, but I it the importance of copying all that information down or whatever, downloading it and keeping it safe didn't occur to me. I doubt I'll ever find it again. It may not exist again. They probably took it down, but they did a good job showing how the media in the Yugoslav Republic would actually bullshit both the Serbians and Albanians, getting them both whipped up in a frenzy against each other. Okay, telling the Serbians the Albanians hated them and wanted to kill them, telling the Albanians that the Serbians hated them and wanted to kill them, vice versa. When really they were getting along fine. It was just all propaganda. And then the banks, it all comes back to the banks and the major corporations. And exactly how this came about, I don't know, but the Yugoslavs' own army, I found out from later interviews, just put all their cities under siege, in Serbia and Kosovo and whatnot, and it completely shut down the economy. There was no commerce in and out of these cities, so they became these death traps. The sewage system shut down, the police and fire departments shut down, 90% of the hospital staff went home, and I got to see the aftermath of that. Right, and since leaving the military, I've had multiple different, a little bit about my formal education. So when I was in the Army in Kosovo, I did take a philosophy class, and I clept a couple classes, I think physical geology and something else. And of course, I got an A in philosophy. I made sure that I also studied the textbook through something like 5 times and answered all the questions, and wrote my own questions, and quizzed myself on it multiple times to make sure I could retain some of that information. Plus, when I got out, I did pick up a little bit of college at a community college. Ultimately, though, Congress made changes to the GI Bill that I wasn't aware of, and then I ended up not getting a check from the GI Bill that I was expecting to pay my rent with, became homeless, and then ended up failing all my classes. So I was getting A's. And a B. I got a B in economics. I was also homeless at that time too. But when they made that change, and I ended up homeless in the fall, in a rainy fall with a girlfriend and children, it just fucked everything up. Like, my grades just completely dropped to F's. There was no way I could continue to go to school under those conditions. So my college career is probably permanently fucking ruined. But as far as additional self-education, like I say, I've read a lot historically. In my past, I've read a lot, mostly novels, but other things as well. Nowadays, though, I'm finding I get a lot. I haven't allowed myself to read any novels, and there's reasons for that, because I will not be here. Okay, I will not be on this planet. I will be in the novels. Okay, I'll be gone. So I haven't allowed myself to do that. And as far as nonfiction goes, I've been getting most of that information from articles on the internet and YouTube videos, which is why that's probably, well, it looks like that's actually the stuff that I'm going to end up creating, is articles and videos. Okay, that just seems to be the way things are going. So now you have to listen to shit. I don't know. Honestly, I have to give you a huge pat on the back just making it this far through the video, because this is not well produced, obviously. This is just me trying to get comfortable in front of the camera and trying to tell you a little bit about my background so you can get some idea on what sort of real-world insight I have on various different things. As a civilian, I've had multiple different jobs. I've worked as a day laborer, or I'm working as a day laborer now, so I've worked all kinds of different labor jobs. I've worked warehouse jobs. I was in call centers for many years. I've done everything in call centers you can imagine doing in call centers. I've done political surveys. I've taken applications for credit cards, technical support, customer service for cell phones. I've held 2 expert titles, one as a and I can't even list all the things I've done at call centers, but I was an expert in wireless. I'm not going to mention which company doesn't really matter. But it's technically not cellular, but mobile phones. And also was Medicare expert too. And yes, I did read through the Affordable Care Act, both the draft before and after it was passed into law. Okay, I wasn't required to, but I needed to know. In fact, it was about that time that I watched the Zeitgeist, like right before I went into Medicare, I watched the Zeitgeist movement. And by that time, I ended up just stumbling across Alex Jones. It was preloaded content on a Palm Trio cell phone that I had. And so by the time I got to the Medicare expert, actually come to think of it, no, it was actually after the Medicare expert that I found out about Alex Jones. So it was, but before that, it was, but right around that time, I watched the first Zeitgeist film by Peter Joseph. Where were we? Yeah, and I think it was after I no longer had the Medicare expert title because I didn't work that seasonal job anymore that I stumbled across Alex Jones. I did end up working in that industry a little bit more. I even tried to help start an Affordable Care Act exchange, an Obamacare exchange in a particular state. I'm not going to mention which one or for whom. It doesn't really matter. The point is, but it was an abject failure. Okay. But yeah, I know this not for me. Like, I mean, I was actually the most competent person. I ended up that was even on the project. I ended up having to walk away from it because I couldn't handle the level of incompetence. I could tell we were just fucking people over left and right. It was just absolutely abhorrent. And it seemed like everybody from the supervisor in the call center all the way up to the stakeholders wanted it to fail. It was very frustrating. Yeah, and I've worked construction, helping to locate and install utilities. I don't know, nothing else really comes to mind. Like I say, I mean, nowadays I get my education mostly just from videos and reading on the internet. Okay, so I haven't really read much in the way of books for a while. I really miss hard copy books. Like, I'm only like a small part of as I read through Jim Mars's book on, I can't recall what it was exactly. It was some ancient alien theory. I can't remember the name of it. Because it was a hard copy book. Michael Tsarion's book, Atlantis, I started reading it, but it's like, there's really not hard copies available. Like, even if you were to find a hard copy available, like say on Amazon, it would probably be overpriced because it's something that somebody hijacked, and it wouldn't even be an up-to-date version. Now, if I had a black and white Kindle, that would maybe make it easier, but whatever. I'm just not doing much in the way of reading now. It's mostly just reading articles and watching videos on YouTube, just to give you an idea. Okay, but I've been doing it for a long time. It's been very strange. It's like when the economy collapsed in 2007 for a few years, I found it impossible to maintain any regular employment. It definitely wasn't enough to pay bills, but for some reason, I always seemed to find a way to be able to access the fucking internet and have a computer. I don't even know how. Okay, it's just kind of worked out that way. So I ended up, and of course I had to know what happened. I had to understand why the economy did what it did. Because it was really radical. Gas prices went up to, like, our rent price went from like $600 to almost $1,000 within a 6-month period. Gas prices shot up from like, what was it, like $1 to like $5, pretty quickly, and then all of a sudden the overtime went away, and then the job went away, and then I couldn't even find work. It was a bitch, and I had to figure out really how economics works and what kind of chicanery led to that. And I do. I have a pretty strong understanding of what happened. That's what happens when you really, really want to know something and you have access to that information. You will figure it out. Okay? if you have a good mind. There's not very many out there, honestly. I mean, even people with really high IQs, some of them, it's, yeah, when you test them, they have really high IQs in certain areas, but it seems like there's certain aspects missing from their consciousness, so they don't have true holistic intelligence and can't really see the bigger picture. It's really strange. And I guess, I don't know, I guess that'll be all for now. Like I said, I just wanted to give you an idea what my background is. And definitely, all you have to do, if you want to know kind of, or start to get an idea of the sort of things that I've been studying over the past few years, you can just look at my subscriptions. I believe I've made them public. Would they be over here? Or would they be over here? See, I don't know. Just around here, it should show what my prescriptions are, or subscriptions. I did make that public. This is not even close to a complete list. This is a brand new channel of the different stuff that I've studied, but I have selected some of the people whose work I'm the most fond of. Okay, and I don't know, I hope this was helpful.